Is normal, abnormal, brilliant show. It's my Uncle Nick Abbot.
Dean, Rishi Sunak's new Tory slogan is long-term decisions for a brighter future. And he did the rounds of interviews this week, but refused to say what any of his long-term decisions would be on anything. So we're just going to have to trust him about that brighter future bit. Maybe he means it will be brighter for him, squinting in the California sun after getting his bottom handed to him by Keir Starmer at the next election. At least Sunak has an escape raft. It's made of millions of £10 notes. We will be stuck with the stripped shell of a country that used to work just fine before his lot got hold of it 13 short years ago. In other news, that twisted sister, Suella Braverman's speechifying in America is so repellent, even Conservative MPs think she's gone too far. But at only 3,000 miles, maybe not far enough.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, a teenage girl who died when a school coach crashed on the M53 in Cheshire this morning has been named as 15-year-old Jessica Baker. The driver of the vehicle also died after it hit a central reservation and overturned. A 14-year-old boy has suffered life-changing injuries. MP for Wallasey, Angela Eagle, has told LBC it's been a difficult day for the area.
I was actually at Arrow Park Hospital when I was told of the incident. The picket line that was outside there on another dispute actually dissolved and went back into work. We knew that the hospital had gone onto an emergency footing, so we knew it was serious. We just didn't know quite how many people had been badly hurt or killed.
2 people have been taken to hospital after 2 trains crashed in northern Scotland. The collision happened this evening at Avermore railway station. 3 others were treated at the scene. Police investigating the felling of a famous tree in Northumberland have made a second arrest. A man in his 60s is in custody over the felling of the Sycamore Gap tree at Hadrian's Wall. A 16-year-old boy arrested yesterday has been released on bail. A man's been arrested by Las Vegas police and charged with the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur, who was killed almost 3 decades ago. He was shot 4 times in a drive-by shooting in 1996. A Nevada grand jury has now indicted 60-year-old Dwayne Keefe D. Davis. Kevin McMahill is sheriff of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and says it's taken decades of work to get here.
There's been many people who did not believe that the murder of Tupac Shakur was important to this police department. I'm here to tell you that was simply not the case. It was not the case back then, and it is not the case today.
A state of emergency has been declared across parts of New York because of heavy rainfall. Many streets and subway stations have been flooded. State Governor Kathy Hochul has warned that more is on the way.
People should be able to stay home if possible, but I know right now there's a lot of anxious parents wondering if they're going to be able to get their children home from schools. Our priority once in the immediate aftermath of this first wave of the storm, and again, it could come back again. It could reemerge later again this afternoon.
In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed up 6 points at 76.08. The pound buys $1.22 and €1.15. LBC weather remaining windy with showers in the far north tonight. Elsewhere dry with clear spells and feeling chillier than recent nights with a low of 4 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
To communicate the seriousness of our situation, 8 inches of rain and strong winds across South Africa's Western Cape province have caused flooding, torn off roofs, destroyed crops and damaged roads this week. New York is currently underwater. Even the rats have said, right, that's it, we're leaving. Europe has almost run out of local olive oil supplies after extreme weather damaged harvests for 2 years in a row. And Swiss glaciers have lost 10% of their volume in just 2 years. The same in 2 years as the 30 years between 1960 and 1990. And the world just went through the hottest 3-month spell in human history, as in ever, this summer, when extreme weather disasters took more than 18,000 lives, drove at least 150,000 people from their homes, affected hundreds of millions of others and caused billions of dollars of damage. But don't worry, because it can't be climate change, because an opaquely funded so-called think tank, which not only doesn't believe in science, it doesn't even believe in maths, has released a major report full of schoolboy errors, saying that we better not even say the term climate change, as it will make our eyeballs shrivel in our heads and our knees drop off.
Correct.
But never mind about that, because Brits are hoping for one last glimpse of summer could be hit with balmy temperatures in the coming days. We'll be basking, a nation of baskers. Parts of the UK are predicted to be hotter than Greece, wherever that is. Forecasters announced it could feel very warm at the start of next month, as the heat has already started to creep up this week. According to weather forecaster Joe, some parts of England could experience highs of up to 25 degrees centigrade, and I will translate European surrender temperatures for His Majesty's Fahrenheit. It's simple. A child could do it. You just double it and add 32. So double 25 is 70, and 70 plus 32 is 112. It's going to be 112 degrees Fahrenheit this weekend. Can you believe that?
No.
The warmth is expected to come in the southeast of England, of course. Listeners in Glasgow will get their own weather. I can check on that while you wait. Aha! Well, according to this, it's not raining at the moment. Rubbish. It will, however, be raining tomorrow and raining on Sunday and... What? Not raining on Monday? Come off it. Raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday the 8th and then the following Monday, and I don't have any further information, at least nothing I can rely on, because it says it's going to be sunny for 3 days in a row, which cannot possibly be true. That app is giving me misinformation. Liar! So, do you want to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks? I can't hear you. So, immediately, this weekend, along the south coast, 22 degrees in Folkestone and Eastbourne. It's going to feel like 27 degrees centigrade because of humidity or something. I don't know. It's another spell of Indian summer weather, because they come over here and make our autumn warm. OK, forecast for the next 4 weeks, as in the whole of October. So October. Can you believe that? It's practically Jesus' birthday. So the weather for the first couple of weeks in October, at first cloudy, patchy rain, then sunshine and showers, but not much rain. Temperatures likely to be above average overall, perhaps very warm in the south. Temperatures are likely to be above average overall, perhaps very warm in the south. We'll take it. Daryl texts, when asked to HS2 whether HS2 would ever reach Manchester, the Prime Minister replied that spades are in the ground. You'd think for £100 billion they'd be able to afford some mechanical diggers, but I guess that's inflation for you. Spades are in the ground. What a colossal chump. Putting spades in the ground is my number one priority. Zach says trees are the ultimate woke beings and they're not shy about throwing shade. Literally. They're the green guru. Is this worth reading? Is any of that worth reading?
Yeah.
It sounds like I've got a hippie working on the show.
Yowza.
Yeah. Zach says trees are the not Zach, what's his name, out of you-know-what. He says they're the green gurus of enlightenment, never leafing anyone. See, no, it's not worth reading. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
0345 6060 973. Let's have Southend. Hello, Linda.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
How's your throat? Is it better now?
Not really, but thanks for asking. You know me, I don't like to complain about it.
Whinging
no, you
and
never
whining
complain,
and moaning.
do you?
No, I don't. No.
I've got a programme here that I thought you might like to watch tomorrow night or record, because obviously you'll be working. It's about Beatles night.
About Beatles night?
The Beatles, yeah. You like the Beatles, don't you?
Well, it's difficult not to.
Yeah. I remember telling you I met Paul McCartney. I don't know if you remember that now.
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't? I did meet Paul McCartney a few years ago.
As long as you remember it, Linda, that's the most important thing.
I'm hoping I do, yeah.
Right. So what is this you were talking about?
It's about how the Beatles changed the world.
Isn't that stretching it a bit? I mean, they made the world sing their songs, but I don't know if that constitutes changing. Did it?
No, but you might enjoy it, though, because it's on for nearly 7 hours.
What?
And it's also in with it is Stuart Sutcliffe, the Lost Beatle.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realise there was another one, but...
So what is it? I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about. Is it a television program station that's giving over their evening?
Am I allowed to say Am I allowed to say the channel?
Absolutely, Linda. Is it BBC 3, BBC 4, BBC 5, BBC 6, BBC 7, BBC Heaven, Sky Arts? Right. Okay, I'll look it up on the World Wide Wait. Thanks for the swerve, Linda. Cheers, my dear. Simon says, was in an unnamed supermarket today buying a drink.
Booze.
Bought a chocolate orange for my dad and was horrified to see that it was in a Christmas box. We're not even out of September yet. I have had so many emails persuading me to buy things Christmas-related lately. I mean, I know that every year we say this kind of thing, that it's come too soon. And, supermarkets, we're barely out of Easter and already they're hanging tinsel. But it does seem particularly early this year, doesn't it? Or is it just because we're never quite ready for it? It always happens at the same time and we just keep, essentially we're in Groundhog Day. Just keep moaning about this. In about a month's time, we're going to be moaning about the clocks going back. So, but it does seem particularly full on this year, as though there's a lot of companies that are really pinning their hopes on survival of us lot going out spending money we haven't got on things we don't need and can't afford, more to the point. A chocolate orange for my dad. I'm surprised they still make those things. Do they still make them, chocolate oranges? I remember you tap it and then unwrap it. I believe that is true. Get Dawn French on the phone, she'll explain. Martin says, where am I? He did talk about potholes, though, Nick, as in Fishy Sunak. He's all over potholes.
I am totally 100% on it.
100% on potholes. He's seen a lot of them from his helicopter. Says he did talk about potholes. It's his new... I hope he finds an obliging sinkhole, though, very soon. That is our top priority. Yes. Yeah. It wouldn't have to be a very deep one, actually, would it? 0345 6060 973. Merthyr Tydfil. Jeff.
Hey, Nick. We are surviving, apparently. Life is going on in Wales.
Is it?
Even at 20 miles an hour.
Right.
It's had... We've lived with it, this so-called blanket, which, of course, is nonsense. Very interestingly, the Conservatives seem to have latched onto this idea and are now going to extend it, that they're going to defend the motorist against 20 miles an hour. Yeah. But, of course, you've got a lot of Conservative local authorities who have already imposed 20 miles an hour.
Yes.
Outside schools, outside hospitals, outside various places.
Ever since they won in Uxbridge, Bodger Johnson's old seat.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
A location he wouldn't be able to find with a sat-nav. They seem to have concluded that, it's the only thing that we've got a positive result from, so we're just going to go full in on that. The war against the motorist, that seems to be their thing. It's even, it seems to be occupying their minds more than the little boat people, the cars.
It strikes me, Nick, they seem to be getting pretty desperate.
Yes.
It's an act of desperation. I can honestly say to you, it hasn't affected anything.
Of course not.
We've lived for it for a full week. It was like as if... And this very interesting 430,000 petition, big questions are being asked about its validity, about these bots producing... we
ain't seen nothing yet, Jeff. I'm telling you, this next election is going to be, by a country mile, the dirtiest that this country has ever seen. And if you think you've seen robot action on the internet trying to sway people's opinions, then just wait.
And added to this, of course, Nick, will we have an election?
Well, I keep saying it, but I would not be surprised if they cancelled it for our safety.
Yes, because 20 miles an hour, I don't know how people can possibly live at this.
The thing is, not every, but most journeys are under 5 miles. So the time that you would save, not driving at the tiny part of that journey that you'd be able to go up to 30 anyway between traffic lights, you'd shave about 5 minutes off the average journey. Are people's lives so fantastically busy that they cannot give up 5 minutes of their time for the potential saving of a child's life who runs into the street after a football?
Exactly. My daughter, I visit my daughter down in Pontyclean, and the difference that it's made, Pontyclean is a rat run for these big tippers that are going to a tip, and they've had to slow up. And the difference it's made is phenomenal. A big, 4-axle jobs, which we've been full of chip-ins and God knows what else, and they've had to slow up, and it's made a huge difference.
So they actually have slowed, because most 20-mile-an-hour zones that I drive down, I am being pushed along the road by some numpty in an Audi behind me, flashing his lights and having a fit you could see from space.
Yep. Yeah. And before you ask, they're still getting coal.
Still getting coal out of that illegal mine. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Under cover of nothing at all, because it's completely in the open. Yeah. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Jeff. Keep your eyes peeled. 0345 6060 973. So the Welsh are actually sticking to the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. I can't believe it. We appreciate your cooperation.
Thank you.
You can text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Hot air. HOTAR.
So the Guardian put it like this. Fishy Sunak is to prioritise the interests of millions of car owners with a series of measures that will provoke environmentalists and curb the power of local councils. I think the provoking environmentalists part is key to all this. Sticking it to the libs. In a package expected to be announced at the Tory conference. Hey, there's going to be a Tory conference on Monday. Can you imagine the excitement?
Boring.
In a package, I wonder what that hall will smell like. A bit musty, I expect. Fusty, I would imagine. In a package expected to be announced at the Tory conference on Monday, the Prime Minister will set out his plan for motorists. Oh, he's got a plan. It will limit the number of 20-mile-an-hour speed restrictions and favour drivers over bus passengers. But bus passengers are pedestrians. So he's prioritising cars over pedestrians. It's his number one priority. But don't drivers become pedestrians the moment they step out of their cars?
Yes.
Yes. The move would be hugely... So, I mean, what's he going to do? Like, drive through voting booths? Forget the part about you getting out of the car. We just want to concentrate on when you're behind the wheel. The Guardian says that the move would be hugely controversial, setting ministers on a collision course with local authorities who rely on their powers to keep bus lanes traffic-free. Sunak's plan, if that is indeed what this is, rather than just a knee-jerk regurgitation of anything he thinks will get him a good headline. It's the latest in a series of contentious policy ideas, such as his watering down of net zero targets, designed to revive his government and create clear dividing lines with Labour. And the more clear those dividing lines become, the less popular he becomes. And the more popular, by contrast, becomes the Labour Party. Oh, there's some polls out this week. It makes thrilling reading. I'll get to that in a minute. He's trying to revive this government. I mean, that would be like trying to revive Liz Truss's political career. It's over. It's expired. It's gone to meet its maker. It is an ex-career.
Absolutely.
Fishy has also raised the prospect of paring back the hugely over-budget HS2 rail line, although he refused to provide clarity on his plans. Refused to provide clarity seems to be a thing with him.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability.
Accountability, yeah, it's that last part that I'm talking about. Accountability. Being accountable is his number one priority. Just don't ask him to be accountable for his own decisions. His new slogan is, long-term decisions for a brighter future. How are they going to get that on a lectern? Long-term decisions for a brighter future. But when asked about whether he's scrapping the northern branch of HS2, the country's biggest infrastructure project, he says he can't speculate on what he might do in the future. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't happening to us. In a what was described as a marathon media round, during which Sunak carried out 34 separate interviews on local radio and TV, he repeatedly was pinned down over the Birmingham to Manchester leg of the HS2 rail link, refusing to commit to it on more than a dozen occasions. He really is a slippery fishy. His plan for motorists, that's what it's called, is expected to include moves to limit English councils' powers to place 20-mile-an-hour speed limits on main roads and to restrict the number of hours a day that car traffic is banned from bus lanes. It's also understood to include curbs on local authorities' ability to impose fines and thus raise revenue from traffic infractions caused by automatic number plate recognition cameras and on the use of such cameras in box junctions. So it's basically a bunch of cobbled-together plans aimed at the 65s and over, who are the only people who are even considering voting Tory next time around. And ironically, are most likely to be on the bus that's held up because some Labour voting Lautner hatchback is blocking the bus lane. Great plan, Fishy. You're not very good at this, are you?
No.
Sunak's expected to cite concerns about... He's taking it one louder. He's also expected to cite concerns about so-called 15-minute cities. And if that gets your ears pricked up and you think that a conspiracy theory is coming your way...
Warning, warning!
Turn off the internet and go outside. Sunak is expected to cite concerns about the so-called 15-minute cities, an urban planning concept based around having shops and workplaces near homes, which some conspiracy nuts claim is a UN-led plan to limit people's ability to travel. I mean, we are in full twit conspiracy mode now. He'll be telling us that vapour trails out of planes are a plot dreamed up by all of the governments in the world to give us less sun.
Correct.
The 15-minute city is exactly what the over-65s would like, because it means they can get what they need, doctors, shops, libraries, the lot, within 15 minutes walk. You know, like the good old days. They're called villages, and old people absolutely love them. But, you know, demented Twitter twits, hyped up by so-called think tanks in the pay of fossil fuel companies, have put it into the minds of the gullible that 15-minute cities are in fact prisons that you won't be able to get out of. I'm not making that up. That is what these people think. I'll sum up their arguments for you. I mean, why would any organisation think that it's a bad idea to have everything you need within walking or biking distance, apart from the companies that sell us petrol? And all this nonsense, badly targeted at people who won't vote Tory at the expense of the elderly who will, is Sunak's attempt to win over just enough voters to win the next election. Curious, why a man who is so obviously bad at his job would be so keen to keep it, when he probably makes more money doing nothing in one day than he earns as a salary for being Prime Minister for a year. Why is he doing it? Aren't you curious? And these proposals follow Sunak's pledge in July to crack down on what he called anti-motorist policies. They aren't anti-motorist, they're pro-people. And, you know, all of this is because of Mr. Blobby.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
It's all because of the unexpected Conservative win in the Uxbridge and Ruislip by-election when Bodge sloped off to spend more time with other people's money. And the thinking is that the Tories won that because of concerns about the expansion of London's ultra-low emissions zone, which was Bodger's idea, wasn't it, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Yes. So they think they can win by going all in on cars and against pedestrians. But people over 65, their target demographic, don't tend to drive cars as much as young people do. They get the bus. It's another of those Tory bright spark moments like voter ID, which even Smug said was shooting the party in the foot, as the oldsters that vote Tory were quite likely to not have an ID card. So, in his words, their attempt at gerrymandering was an act of self-harm.
My view...
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with Jacob Smug. Like I said, there's some polling out this week, and depending on which newspaper you read it in, they're trying to twist it one way or the other. But there's only one outcome for the Conservative Party. They will look at those polls and say, looks like curtains to me. We will shortly, as a nation, be saying, where is it? Oh, there it is.
Bye-bye.
Well, it was worth the brief moment to find it. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. I should remind you that the Friday and Saturday night shows do get put up the internet as a podcast. If you are exhausted and you just can't stay awake and listen to the programme, then we do put it on the internet as a podcast. We take the news and most of the ads out, mostly, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity, and in some small way, you will make a difference in our rush to net zero. You're welcome. 10:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Nobody knows who the hell he is.
Craig says, did you hear Donald Trump saying, if you drive an electric-powered boat and it sinks, you'll be electrocuted? He says it's almost as good as his famous, the sound of windmills gives you cancer. Well, I can go one louder, because he recently gave one of his rambling speeches at one of his safe space rallies, and he said windmills are causing whales to die in numbers never seen before. The windmills are driving them crazy, he said. And Donald Trump is an expert on crazy. Nobody knows more about being crazy than me. Everybody says so.
Oh, shut up!
Everybody says so. Ed says, although I'm not a fan of HS2, I guess it might come in handy as the sea levels rise in London. As the sea levels rise, and London is the first to be flooded. Us southerners will need to travel north above sea level, becoming migrants, relying on northern hospitality. Yeah, we're full. Tracy says, I've just returned from my son's wedding in Scotland. We went last Sunday and it was raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining today when we drove home. Well, you should have listened to this show before you went there, Tracy. And John says, I watched Oasis live at Wembley on Sky Arts this morning. I'm now suffering from repetitive song injury. I'd forgotten how witty Liam is in his opinion. Yeah, I saw Oasis live at Wembley. It was one of the dullest things I've ever seen in my life. They were so boring. I mean, just really, really dull. I can't think of a single act I've seen on stage that was less interesting than they are. I mean, Liam, he just stands there at the front, motionless, with his cagoule zipped up to his neck, like he's going to leave. I just stopped watching them and started looking at drunk, fat, white guys dancing to rock music, which was actually pretty funny. Made me laugh. 0345 6060 973. Dagenham, Joshua.
Hello, mate.
Joshua.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is definitely a war against drivers. That one, to be honest. With Rishi trying and get himself into the election and winning it based on the war against drivers. I'll give an example. Sadiq Khan. This week he's come out saying about how he's going to charge drivers a toll fee just to use the Blackwall Tunnel.
They already have a toll on the Blackwall Tunnel.
No, they don't. They don't have a toll. Like, you're talking about the Dartford crossing.
Oh, the Dartford crossing, yeah.
But because they're building a tunnel, Silvertown, to ease the congestion at Blackwall Tunnel,
yeah,
they're adding a toll. What's the need for that? Number one, you have the U-list. You have in London majority now. If you go to places like Hackney, Streatham,
yeah,
you have these useless
moaning and I feel the life just draining out of me, Joshua. It is. It's just so painful. What is it? What is it that you want?
What do you mean? These LTNs are useless. I mean, think about it.
The LTNs are useless. What on earth does that mean?
So the London traffic neighbourhoods.
Yeah.
So, for example,
no, I know what they stand for. I'm asking why are they useless? I mean, not that I'm really.
Okay. If you want to go through a street, you can't go through there, so you have
to.
Take
okay, and how marvellous that is for the people who live on that street.
Not particularly.
Well, yeah, particularly because they don't have queues of traffic outside their front window.
But it causes more congestion on another street. I do understand that. Oh yeah, fair enough. On the roads where schools are, that's understandable. But
right.
Come on.
You know, people like you were complaining just the other day about the council that have put bollards up on the pavement near schools because people were driving on the pavement to get around the jams caused by parents driving their kids to school. And people were complaining about the council stopping people driving on the pavement as part of the war on motorists. I can't hear any more of it, Joshua. I just can't. It's excruciating. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Chester. Hello, Jake.
Oh, Nick, you okay?
Yeah, good, thanks.
You had a good week?
Yeah. It was all right.
I'm just... That last caller there is just the epitome of, like, talking about stuff that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Suella Braverman's speech this week, I'm a gay man myself, right? And what she said offended me. And I mean, I'm not easily offended. I'm used to her rubbish and her, she's just not a nice person. But what I don't understand is why Rishi's not stood up and said something. And in my mind, he won't stand up and say something because I believe she's got more power than anyone knows, within the Conservative Party. And
you know this argument that people have been having about those bully dogs. That inadequate people have like a wild animal that could rip the throat out of a human being, and they use it as a weapon. Well, that's exactly what you're talking about. Rishi Sunak is the inadequate with a Suella Braverman on a piece of string, walking around in public.
Exactly, that's the point. I mean, come on. He's not for motorists. What he's done is he's jumped on the Uxbridge by-election result and he's found anything. It's so see-through in what he does. And then you've got the last caller going on about, oh, my God, I might have to pay a little bit more. Yeah. But it doesn't affect that many people. And what gets me more than anything is I don't understand why people can't see through this. I mean, back in the day...
You don't have to actually be too downhearted because people can see through it. That is that is a function of their desperation. Nothing they're doing is working. And so they're going to... because they can't think of anything else, they're just having to ramp it up and up and up, which is what Suella Braverman did about, if you're gay and you're potentially at risk of being killed in the country that you live in, then, what's that got to do with us? Was essentially what I took from that speech. And then she talked about the grooming gangs being overwhelmingly Pakistani, which was a lie. And it's... And it's going to get much worse. We're at the foothills now. If you think it's bad now, just wait, because towards the next general election, they're going to look at the polls and they're going to become more and more terrified of being out of power for their lifetimes. And with no power comes no money. And so they're going to throw absolutely everything at us, and if that doesn't work, then it'll be something else. And if they can't persuade you that all Pakistani people are rapists, then it's going to be, they'll just go through the usual list. Single mothers, anybody that doesn't walk, talk and squawk exactly like you do, benefits cheats, basically any small identifiable group of people who are going to get it in the neck in the desperate hope that some 65-plussers will crawl down to the voting booth and put their cross next to the blue square.
It's absolutely disgusting. And you say they're 65 plus, right? I have a grandma, and she votes for Labour. She's been a Labour voter all her life.
We found one.
You did find one, yeah. She's always been. Right. She worked in a factory growing up. Anyway, the point is that what Rishi's doing at the moment, I mean, you see it, I see it, but I don't understand personally why people focus on the little things like ULEZ and they blame Sadiq. Can I just say to anyone that's listening, it was actually a Tory thing.
Yeah, Boris Johnson started it, and Grant Shapps, as Transport Minister, insisted on it and made it a condition of funding transport for London.
Exactly. This is what I mean. People ring you and they complain about ULEZ and blame Labour, but they do not actually bother to research the facts and realise it was brought in by the Tories, because facts are only what you believe, and if anyone else says anything the fact.
The Americanisation of British politics is complete. I'll sum it up for you.
I love the poorly educated.
Yeah, Trump loves the poorly educated because they are his fans, and this government loves the poorly educated. It seems to be a policy to keep us poorly educated and up to our eyeballs in propaganda.
Can I be honest, Nick? I'm a 37-year-old man, okay? I'm a gay 37-year-old man.
37 years old? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I've been through some stuff in my life. I've never been more scared that people follow this whole... You know, you say, what will Donald Trump do? How can she go to America and say that stuff? And the leader of our country... By the way, the multiculturalism argument, it's ridiculous.
It hasn't worked.
No, it's not worked. They are going to jump on every single thing that they can.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Jake, don't be downhearted, because you get the impression that they are in the majority, but their desperation speaks otherwise. They are not in the majority. That's why they're getting so desperate, because they know they're going to lose. So don't be downhearted, Jake. Chin up. Thanks a lot, mate. Gotta go. 0345 6060 973. Dan texts, I can't but feel that the felling of the tree at Sycamore Gap is a metaphor for what Britain has become, a random act of mindless violence upon that which cherish. A random act of mindless violence upon that which we cherish? Yeah, I've got a theory about that. I don't think it was a random act at all. I have a theory about that. I don't know whether to share it with you now or... No one's been charged yet, have they? Anyone been charged for that thing yet?
Oh, which thing? Sorry,
the tree thing.
No, not charged.
No, not yet. No. Well, I'll think about it. I bet I'm right, though. I bet it's a little a reaction against Wokey Cokey.
Okie dokie.
I bet it is. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
It's a radio show, dear. Dan texts, I can't... Oh, no, I've read that one. Pretty sure I've read that one. It was about the felling of that tree. Very, very disappointing. I mean, what a fantastic place for a tree. Presumably it just happened by accident, but it was like picture perfect right there. And then it wasn't. I would imagine, I mean, I don't know that this is true, but I would not be surprised to learn that it was somebody who was furious at the wokerati of the National Trust, and they wanted to teach them a lesson. I mean, they've already got people who are trying to take over that organisation, haven't they? It's the far-right playbook, and you can just tick them off as they go down. Control the press? Yes, done. Suppress opposition? A work in progress. Take over institutions? Well, they're trying to do that. Anybody want to take a bet that it was some reaction against the wokey-cokey?
Okie dokie.
Yanis texts, they've already started putting up the Christmas lights on Oxford Street. It's been closed most nights this week to facilitate the installation. Yeah, but that's not switching them on, though. I mean, they're going to have to wait a while to switch them on. I don't know when they actually do that, but it's not going to be now. It's not going to be October, surely not. November, I think. I'm okay with November. That's okay. Go ahead and enjoy yourself, because at the end of October, the clocks go... spring forward, fall back. The clocks go back.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And we're going to have that conversation, very half-hearted, I know, because we're tired of having it every year, and it's like, oh, really? Can I raise a tired finger of complaint? And then we'll just have to suffer it for 5 months or whatever it is, be plunged into the dark with absolutely no necessity of any kind whatsoever, apart from some Scottish farmers don't like milking their cows in the dark. Well, here's the news. Cows don't know what time it is. 03, unless they do, of course, in which case I take that back. 0345 6060 973. Bromley, hello, Joe.
Hello, mate. One simple question. It's quite fundamental. It'll probably cause furore, but let me ask you it anyway. If you're British, white and heterosexual in this country, are you at a disadvantage these days?
In what regard?
So many, obviously.
Well, like what?
You know, I know you're a clever man and you know exactly what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that what you're saying is true, other than just a general sense of grievance that your life hasn't gone the way you wanted it to.
No, not at all. I think there's an awful lot of evidence, of evidence.
Well, give me one instance.
Sharia law.
Sharia law?
Sharia law in parts of the country.
There's no Sharia law in Britain.
Are you sure?
Yes, 100%. What else have you got? That you started with that, Joe, just means that you say that you don't know what you're talking about, and I was completely correct in every respect when I nailed you that you are just like a bag full of grievance in complaint of your life not turning out the way you wanted it to. So whose fault is that? Is it your fault? Hell no. Is it luck's fault? Well, yeah, it probably is, but luck is a difficult thing to blame, because what is it? Can't touch it, can't see it, can't sniff it. So it must be somebody else's fault, an identifiable minority. Yeah, that's right. Straight white men are those that are getting a hard deal in this country. Right. I think you missed out rich. When will straight white rich men ever get a break? You're right, Joe. 0345 6060 973. They're all coming out tonight. Woodwork squeaks. Lewisham, hello, Jane.
Hello, Nick.
Hello, Jane.
What we need is precision politics, and you're only going to get that with the motoringparty.co.uk.
OK, that's very interesting to hear that, Jane. Please tell me more. Oldbury, hello, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick, you okay?
No.
Why ain't you okay, mate? Listen. You're getting on a short fuse today, Nick.
Yeah.
You know that guy says he's a white, whatever he said he was. You know what? I love those kind of people, and I want to be locked in a room with him for about 10 hours and try and get inside his head, right?
Why? It would be just too depressing. You're not going to change his mind on anything.
I hear these people all day long, right? They just want to blame everybody else. I'm fed up of that thing. I've got a good friend of mine, yeah, and he's white, he's heterosexual, and that's all he ever comes out with when I'm talking to him. And I say, I won't mention his name. Why are you doing that? Why don't you do something about it, instead of blaming everybody else? Obviously Where's the Sharia law? Has he got any evidence of it? No, he hasn't. He's been reading too much YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not
He's
being
done
offensive.
his own research while he was sitting on the toilet scrolling through Twitter.
That's what I'm saying, right? And that's what's gone wrong with this country now. You know, all those dinglings, right, that crashed the red wall, yeah, and changed it to blue. I want Rishi Sunak to go to them and say, yes, you know what, you did lend me your votes. Here, I'm just throwing it back and smashing it back in your face.
They've taken
Thanks
those
for the
votes. They only lent them him. He's not got them. They've taken them back. The polling suggests that the only people in this country who are going to vote Conservative are 65 plus.
No,
The
even
only
they're not.
ones.
Nick, you know this thing about Suella Braverman, yeah? Okay, you know what's really frightening me, and I was just talking to your lovely assistant, right? When I was young, I remember the National Front, okay?
Yeah.
Just about, yeah, okay? I remember Margaret Thatcher's campaigning. She says, I'm going to help to repatriate people back to their country. But she never said, I'm sending you brown people back, but she sent the message out to people who were saying to people like me, oi, P word, out, go back to your country, okay? So we moved along from there. Then came the BNP, yeah? Then came the UKIP, okay? And they kind of evolved and evolved. Now, Suella Braverman says multiculturalism hasn't worked, yeah? And she mentioned Leicester because a few foreign people, like the same colour as her skin, right? Okay. So
This is what I don't understand about Cruella Braverman, is that she is trying to appeal to people who would usher her on a flight to Rwanda.
Yeah. So she was walking down the street with me, yeah? We would both get told to go home, right? So I don't understand that part about her. Right? Now, the thing is...
People would say, where do you come from? And you'd say, Oldbury.
I say, and then, you know, because of things like that, people go to me, all right, Ranji, are you going home for your holidays this year? And I say, what to Smedic, which is the next town. Yeah. And I think to myself, what's brought... This is good, honest people who aren't racist, right? So I ask people,
everybody is racist in some small way. It's an instinctual reaction to difference in others. It's what you do with that defines your character.
Okay. You know, every weekend when there's a football match going on between two rival teams, there's a bit of, bit of a rumble, argy-bargy, yeah? So isn't that multicultural? Yeah, because you're Arsenal and the other guys are Tottenham, or we got Albion and Wolves up here. So you know what? They've scraped every part of that barrel now, and there's nothing.
Oh, they haven't.
You know what I'm worried about?
I bet they barely even started. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah. How far do you think they'll go, right? Because they've played all the race cards, they've played everything.
What they're going to do is they're just going to ramp it up. If at first you don't succeed, keep doing the same thing but louder. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, in other countries they use that word ethnic cleansing. These lot aren't far from that now, are they?
Well, I don't know. I think that's maybe stretching it a bit far there, Ranjit. But appreciate the call. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Perry text, do you think that Sunak has misidentified potholes as outdoor public swimming pools? Well, you know, he doesn't drive anywhere. He goes by helicopter and plane, doesn't he? You know, because he's really keen on saving the public's money. The amount of times he says that while spending the public's money like a drunken sailor. What is he talking about? He doesn't... and he made the claim that when I'm out and about talking to people, they tell me that potholes is their number one concern. When he's out and about talking to people, like he's just wandering around the street, stopping passers-by, as opposed to having a photo shoot with a specially selected couple of individuals. Do me a favour. I just don't understand why he wants that job so much. Do you? I mean, I think I do. But no explanation that I can think of paints him in a good light. Dave says, can't believe you're still banging on about climate change. I'm an avid Talk TV and GB News listener, and I can tell you that in Roman times it was a lot hotter. Get out of that one, you lefty woke traitor. Well, that's a good point there, Dave. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. So there was a couple of polls that were out this week. And if you are feeling downhearted, you think that, we are essentially doomed as a country because these people will never let us go, that it's just all downhill from here at ever-advancing speed, well, take heart, because it ain't necessarily so. And I'll come to that in a minute. 0345 6060 973, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hi, honey. How are you?
And I can't stand him.
0345 6060 973. Luke texts, my local pub is already advertising its Christmas menu, and it's not even been Halloween yet. I'm pretty sure this is the work of Jeremy Corbyn, and I will be informing Fishy Sunak right away so that this becomes his number one priority. That was just a long way around to get me to say priority, wasn't it? Priority. I won't do it. You can't make me. John texts, evidently Rishi Sunak has not learned from Boris Johnson that election-winning slogans have to be just 3 short words. Therefore, long-term decisions for a brighter future would have to be condensed down to not a chance. That's a terrible slogan. Long-term decisions for a brighter future. Who does he think he's kidding with that? Who came up with that? They should get fired immediately, out of a cannon. Long-term decisions for a brighter future. I mean, just for a brighter future would have been better. I'm not suggesting that it would be in any way accurate. I'm just saying that it would be a better slogan. Particularly as he went out and was asked over and over and over again about what his long-term decisions were for HS2, and he said that he doesn't want to speculate on long-term decisions. Doesn't want to speculate on the future. That's what he said. He is terrible at his job. I know that's not something you're supposed to say. But, I mean, all the evidence is there before your eyeballs. Shocking. I mean, at least with this bloke...
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I mean, he was just as incompetent, but at least you knew what his game was. Maximising his own pleasure in any given moment. I mean, he's just one bunch of nerve endings. Nerve endings seeking pleasure. That was you, Bodge, eh? Yes. But with Slippery Fishy, I don't know. You just don't know what is his game. Why is he doing this job? I mean, somebody that earns as much in one day just doing nothing, just from the appreciation of his assets as he would make in 1 year, getting shouted at by members of the general public as the Prime Minister. What's in it for him? Don't you wonder? Yeah, me too. I have a theory. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Brighton. Hello, Max.
Hi there.
Hello there.
Thanks very much for taking the call. I have to say that I always feel kindly and awe when I'm talking to you because you're very incisive about everything, especially at this time of night. But
you mean
I agree compared
to the people in the pub? Well, maybe, yeah.
Well, no, I haven't been to the pub compared to anyone. So, anyway, I'll carry on saying what I was going to say.
Well, that was very nice of you. I don't think that's quite right. I don't really think of myself as being incisive, but go ahead.
Well, I think you've kind of... Anyway, I agree with so much of what you say.
Right.
And what I was going to say on the subject of Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman is simply this. I agree. I think Suella Braverman has a kind of bucket list, and one of those is to get a free flight to Luanda for herself. It's so absurd that, she, by the grace of God, is second-generation immigrant and is treating anyone who's trying to do the same with a kind of iron fist.
People like her are people that climb up a ladder and then pull the ladder up after them.
And I don't understand that, to be quite honest.
I do. I totally get that because
I can't relate.
Because if fewer people follow her, then that underlines how special she is.
Well, as I say, I can't even begin to understand that mentality. I'm sorry.
Right.
I can't.
No.
I can't even begin to understand it because I'm sure, most people, if they get to the top of the ladder, they want to help other people to get up it.
That would be a decent to human thing to do, but I don't detect any reason to suppose that she is a decent human being.
Well, that's the point. And I think my point is this, that in general, most people are quite cool. You know what I mean? And everyone I know certainly has a sense of nurture, compassion, as a decent human being.
Can I stop you there? You said that everyone you know. Yes, that's right. But you pick your friends based on how alike they are to you.
Possibly, yeah.
So what you're telling me is that you are a wonderful, decent human being, and probably gorgeous to boot. Is that what you're saying, Max?
Sorry, I'm not trying to say that. No, but what I'm saying is, I meet so many people of every walk of life in my walk of life, and I think most people would agree with what I'm saying. So my point, simply for this particular slot, is that I think. Although the press and their attitude, people like Suella Braverman, which is a kind of a loose cannon as far as Rishi Sunak's concerned, I think he probably hates it.
Well, it's like an XL bully on a piece of string,
Exactly.
He's
he
out
wishes
there.
he could just fire more off to a boot camp, but he can't. So I think overall the Labour will win next election and things will settle. That's my hope.
Yeah. Well, I would expect so, but they're going to have to make some positive changes. And I know it's going to be extremely difficult because an economy is like a ship. It doesn't turn around very quickly. But they're going to have to make some changes that people can grip a hold of. And they're going to have to do it quick because otherwise they're going to be a one-term. It'll be a one-termer.
Possibly. I think, to be fair, though, I think Rishi Sunak, I know you might say things about him, but I think he's certainly better than Boris Johnson, don't you?
No, I don't.
I mean, I'm not Conservative, I'm a Labour, but
I think he has an equally bad relationship with the truth as Boris Johnson, but at least with Boris Johnson, completely. There's absolutely nothing that man says that you can believe. He twists the truth with virtually every utterance. And if it's not an outright lie, then it is a mangling of the facts in order to make what he is saying seem better. And at least with Boris Johnson, you knew where you came from because it was just...
It was such an obvious lie.
Yeah, exactly. He lied and he lied and he lied just to maximise his pleasure in any given moment. You knew where you were with Boris Johnson, and at least he did seem to have, if you squinted and just waited long enough, you could detect a certain sense of decency, a little bit. But with the slippery fishy that we got at the moment, I can't detect a single solitary molecule of it. Thanks a lot, Max. 0345 6060 973. And so the right-wing press are jointly freaking out about the prospect of a Labour victory at the next election. And the Mail has, they wrote this. And the headline was something like, Rishi Sunak's way to keep the keys to number 10. Public concern over immigration has jumped to its highest level for 6 years, according to our latest poll. And they go into great detail about what the people think. Don't ask the people what they think, because the danger is they might tell you. So public concern over immigration has jumped to its highest level for 6 years, according to our latest polling, says the Mail. Wow. The highest level for 6 years. It must be huge. Is it the number one concern for 90% of the population?
No.
80%?
No.
70%?
No.
No. A survey showed 26% of adults say it is one of the most important issues facing Britain today. And their headline is, Public Concern Over Immigration Jumps to its highest level for 6 years. The truth is, 26% of adults said it is one of the most important issues facing Britain today. A quarter of those who expressed a preference said it was one of the most important issues facing Britain today. I mean, I am stunned. After all that hate-mongering and spreading of fear by the Twisted Sister and Mr. Integrity and the barking dogs on the Tory benches, amplified by the dominant right-wing press, and all they could get to go along with them is 26% who thought it was one of the most important issues facing us? Must try harder, Fishy.
I am totally 100% on it.
This is him doing his best. Can you believe that?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually can. You know, what else have you, Rishi Sunak, got to recommend yourself to the nation other than trying to whip up hatred for things that aren't there? Like 7 recycling bins, for instance. Groovy. No, that was the wrong one. It's supposed to be, not groovy. It's supposed to be goofy. I keep meaning to move those further apart. I have made that mistake before. 7 bins. 7 recycling bins. Gone. You know, protecting us from things that aren't there. Are those 7 bins in the room with us now, Rishi? But they aren't aiming all this at us. They're micro-targeting the only people that are still likely to vote Tory at the next election, the over 65s. I mean, once again, it's the old people who are screwing you over, kids. And the only way to fight them is to vote. Put down your phones and stop recording TikTok videos of you lip-syncing to Rihanna, and get a photo ID.
Boring.
Immigration was the number one issue among over 65s, with 47% said it outstripped fears over inflation and the economy. It's pretty much the only thing they care about, stopping foreigners moving in next door. Hatred of others seems to be the thing you're given on your 65th birthday. The Ipsos poll said concern over the economy still topped voters' concerns, mentioned by 37% of those who were polled, followed by inflation at 30% and the NHS at 28%. But the headline was all about the thing that came fourth, immigration. I mean, it's almost as though the Mail wants the Tories to win the next election and will do its best to ignore the first, the second and the third most pressing concern of their readers and concentrate on the next one. The danger that someone who looks like Rishi Sunak or Suella Braverman might move in next door to them. Migration Watch UK, which lobbies for tougher border controls, said the government had allowed too many lower-skilled foreign workers to come to Britain and described the Conservatives' immigration policy as a betrayal of the electorate. Well, a couple of things. Migration Watch is one of those so-called think tanks that resides in Tufton Street.
Oh, no.
With a whole army of similar groups, all of which are opaquely funded, by which I mean we don't know where they get their money from. They won't tell us. Which rather calls into question whether we can trust they have our best interests at heart. I mean, there's a building in Tufton Street that is absolutely stuffed with science-denying, pro-Brexit, pro-fossil fuel, just about the worst of anything you can think of, including where Liz Truss got her ideas about economics.
Absolutely.
I mean, they'll all probably still be paying for that for the rest of our lives. They said the government had allowed too many lower-skilled foreign workers to come to Britain, which is interesting because we have 300,000 unfilled low-skilled jobs. Because the people that organisations with the same address as Migration Watch has persuaded Europeans to get out of our country. And we missed them when they left. So now, the unexpected consequence for the average Brexit voter is that the white European that used to take your order in your local restaurant is now from Pakistan or India, assuming they could get anyone to do it at all. Not quite what they had in mind when they voted for Brexit on the promise of fewer foreigners, I bet. I mean, the idea that's been bandied about is that we Brits should do that work. You know, pulling up vegetables in a field all day for a couple of months a year, or washing dishes, or delivering stuff on mopeds. But we don't want to do that. We never have, and we never will. We're mostly doing better jobs than that. So we need labour, skilled and unskilled, without which our economy doesn't work. No, but these are just facts, and no one's interested in those anymore. We're all about feelings now, baby. In a report published today, Migration Watch noted the 2019 Tory election manifesto pledged the immigration system would prioritise the brightest and the best. Wow, that sounds fantastic, doesn't it? But the report said the pledge turned out to be the reverse of the truth. Well, here's a good question. Why would the world's brightest and best choose, from all of the countries in the world, one that spent the last 6 years yelling at foreigners to get out of our country? I mean, our brightest and best are leaving to go and work abroad. Ironically, they're following the very people that sold Brexit to us and then left for Singapore and Monaco and France to spend more time with their money. You ever feel like you've been had? 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
Tim texts, I cannot vote Labour because of the expansion of ULEZ. I am driving my Range Rover in London. My vote will go elsewhere. I didn't vote for clean air. I think I detect a note of sarcasm. Cambridge, Hassan.
Hi, Nick. Nick, I'm really worried about climate change. There was torrential rain in New York. You remember there was flooding in Libya. And I was looking for the reasons, and I just realized that this is all Jeremy Corbyn's fault.
Is it?
Yes. Because, you know, in 2011, we voted to bomb Libya, and 550 of our MPs wanted to just go ahead and bomb it. And Corbyn and John McDonnell and Barry Gardner were sort of, I think, 3 of the 14 MPs who voted against that.
Yeah, what's that got to do with climate change?
Because if we had if Corbyn and everybody had voted for the war, God would have been happy and would have not given us climate change.
All right, okay. All right, well, we only want God to be happy. I've got no idea whether he, she or it is, but I did get an email from God just this afternoon that had the following attachment. So I assume everything is going just fine. Don't worry about a thing, Hassan. 0345 6060 973. And if you think it's offensive that I said that God sent me an email, those are my religious beliefs. You're not criticising me for my religious beliefs, are you? Oh, well, thank God for that. Tom says, I'm never voting again. We have a choice between blue Tory and red Tory. This country is doomed. No, Tom, and furthermore...
No.
Don't make me talk about the parallel lines again. All right, maybe once. If you think that the Tories and the Labour Party are the same, then there would be 2 parallel lines and our destination would be the same regardless of which one we vote for. But they're not the same. They might not be but widely differentiated as far as their current policies are concerned, but there is a difference. Even if it's just a tiny difference, 1 degree of difference on parallel lines would, over the short term, not actually look much different to being parallel. But over the long term, they differ widely. And the longer you go, the wider the difference. So pick one. I'm never voting again. That should come with punishment. I mean it. You should be forced to vote in this country. If Australians can do it, you know, with their whole thing... Booze. Then why can't we? St Ives, hello, Jay.
Oh, hi, Nick. Yeah, it was my neighbour, I think, Hassan from Cambridge. Yeah, basically, they never learn, do they? Last time, Liz Truss, she went around the regional radio shows and gave an interview, and that was a car crash. Mm-hmm. And now Rishi Sunak, and I was laughing when he was doing that. And he, in the same speech, he mentioned that the government is looking for the value of the money
Oh, yeah.
And
Sure
he's stating the obvious. And I wanted to remind them, value for the money, the track and trace app, PPE contracts and all the rest he dished out to people. That's the value for the money as well, isn't it, for them? And secondly, you keep calling Twitter. It's not Twitter anymore. It's X.
It is. I don't care. It's the post office tower, and it's Twitter forever. I don't care what that moon-faced creep who runs that company says or doesn't say. It's always going to be Twitter. Well, what do you call a message then on X?
XX. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a tweet, isn't it?
But do you think that Elon Musk, remember your lines went down, do you think he switched it off for you to send a message?
Well, I mean,
weeks back?
it's not beyond the realms of possibility, because I looked at, I think it was in the Mail online, they've got an illustration of how many of his satellites are up there, and it's 5,000. It's almost more than there are stars in the sky.
Yes, and another thing is, one more point, about customer service. Have you noticed people have become really impatient and rude nowadays? When I arrived to this country, people used to be really compassionate, friendly, tolerant. Nowadays, I work in customer services, and they always wanted something quick, jump in the queue, always argumentative. There's something going on. I think we need to get rid of this Tory government. We had enough.
I think that mobile phones may have something to do with that. Leave that with me, Jay, and I'll have a full report on your desk first thing in the morning. I think it's changing the way we are, mobile phones. I was in Brighton the other day, and there was a bunch of kids, and I assume that they were from Croatia, because they all had, well, not all of them, but they had caps with Croatia written on them. So that's a sign, right? And the thing that I noticed about them, because I was sitting in a pub and they were sitting a couple of tables away, and it only occurred to me today, the thing that was really weird about them, apart from the fact that they weren't drinking booze and they weren't vaping and they weren't smoking or none of that, the thing that was weird about them, and it just occurred to me today, was that none of them were looking at their phones. How bizarre. Mate, do they have phones in Croatia? I'll have to assume that they do. But they weren't... I mean, they were sitting around in a table talking to each other. Can you believe that?
No.
Actually conversing with people who were there rather than using their thumbs to type to people who weren't. I think that people's brains have become affected by their phones. And I know that kids in this country are utterly obsessed with them, to the point that it is, I mean, it's not even in question anymore. They are completely addicted. It must be the most addictive thing outside of tobacco or heroin or crack, and quite possibly as dangerous, or even more so. Because, I mean, they just started advertising these, I think it's either Google or one of those people, smart glasses. They tried this before, but the glasses were so clunky that they just looked, so desperately uncool that nobody in their right mind would walk around in public with one of those on. But now they've got Ray-Ban to make them, and so they just look like sunglasses. And I'm telling you, every single person on Earth is going to be wearing a pair of those things, because it will give you such an advantage over those that don't. I mean, apart from anything else, it will have facial recognition technology, and so it will put the name of the person that you are looking at under them. Now, if you're like me, I can't remember anyone's name. So it would put somebody else at a massive advantage, because they would be able to introduce themselves to you with your name. So people are going to have it just for that. But when it takes off, then, I mean, that's the amount of possibilities are just completely endless. But at that point, you won't be looking at the world anymore. You won't be glancing down at your phone. You'll be looking at the world through your phone. You'll be looking at it through Google or Facebook or whatever it is. And at that point, even now, even without that, even now, people's thoughts are being controlled, essentially. They don't realise it, but, for a small convenience or a little light tingle in the brain, we'll give up anything. I mean, we've already shown that we'll give up the high street. We'll complain about the death of the high street, but we will sit at home in our underwear and order things from Amazon. Will get delivered to our door. That's why the high street is dying, because of our choices. A small convenience. And in the same measure, all of those addictive feedback loops, the ping and the little the vibration of the phone as a message comes in or whatever it is, and you can see the kids now, and they are so. It's sad. It's frightening. Apart from anything else, they cannot walk 2 paces without checking their phone, and they check it and they put it in their pocket, and then they walk another 2 paces and they pull the phone out again and they check it again. If their actions in their ordinary everyday lives match those in the gym, with those infuriating kids who occupy machines and just sit there scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. What the hell is it you're looking for? Somebody might have liked you? God. And that's what they've given up life for. There's kids from Croatia were actually looking up. There's a whole world out there, kids, in high definition and surround sound. Try it, you might like it. But the worrying part to me is that how many people run social media on Earth? It's like a small handful, 4 people at most. So people's thoughts are being manipulated, controlled, in fact, by 4 billionaires. What could possibly go wrong?
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Hello. Number, please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, I am most sorry to keep you waiting, Rose, in Devon. Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick. Yes, I agreed with every word you were saying before the break, including the last bit, but the earlier bit I was particularly related to, because I wanted to talk about this devastating report on the state of nature. I've got rather a lot to say, actually, but to start with that, the way that people's I think it's too important to me. This is the trouble. People's gaze is shifted from what's around them to this narrow horizon of this, lifeless screen in front of them. All that sort of thing plays into the hands of the fossil fuel and the pesticide industry, because it's meaning that nature is less and less wanted, except for, the whole, we need to watch the environment for our food.
Yeah.
But as far as, the more important spiritual side of it, and it's just devastating, this report.
You're talking about the report that says State of Nature, the Royal Society for the Prevention of Birds.
Oh, is it them that's done it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, no, they were linking to a report. I just said that in order to say prevention.
I
amusing, no, not really.
Very funny, yeah. Yeah, and it's just the way we humans are wiping away Earth's great miracles with it, and barely looking backward.
Yeah.
Just, cavalier, wiping it all away. And this country, nature's so depleted, I can tell already. And
well, I mean,
I've got a bit of...
The thing that strikes me every time is you used to get in a car and you'd drive to the shops and back, and the front of it would be absolutely covered with insects. Now you can drive from John O'Groats to Land's End and you won't hit a single one.
Yeah, yes, that's true. And ladybirds were all over the place when I was young. And, and I suppose this amounts to a bit of a theory, really, because over the years I've found that people don't know the names of really commonplace birds and flowers. And the thing is, as interest is lost, you see, the absence of nature just goes unnoticed, which, again, plays into the hands of the people who profit from it being destroyed. But then, you see, we had this sycamore that was felled, and the responses to that really show how humans do relate spiritually to beautiful living things like that, or quite apart from the environment for food and all that. And I was thinking about this yesterday. I've concluded I can't defend my stance, which somehow you feel you need to do, because there are so many more important things, like the Tory chaos of dire poverty everywhere, which is, it's so easy for them to say these are the things that matter, and for other people to say these are the things that matter, and nature just is always at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
But I can't defend my stance by describing why nature is fundamental to my existence, because it's fundamental, end of. It's that inextricable from me.
If we lose the insects, then we lose human beings, unless you want to live on a diet of turnips, because that would be pretty much the only thing that is not pollinated by insects.
Yeah, but that's not... That is true, but that's not what I'm talking about at the moment.
No, I understand that, but people will only miss it. People will only miss it when it's gone, when it affects them personally, at which point it will be too late to save. Yeah.
Well, that's the worrying thing, yes. And
but unfortunately, Rose, where we're at now is that if somebody such as yourself expresses an idea that, nature is worth saving, you become woke to these people, and that is apparently a bad thing.
Well, never mind those people. Going back to the words, everything's about words. A few years ago, all the names of living things were removed. You see, it's when people don't know what things... I mean, I'm ending with an unbelievable story told me by a postman. But were removed, going back to the dictionaries. The names of living things were removed from children's dictionaries and replaced by tech words. And in reaction to this, there was this beautiful book I bought it. It's a great big thing of glorious watercolour pictures of all these words, like acorn, blackbird, goldfinch, oak tree, things that don't matter.
Yeah.
And I told someone I met about this to cheer him up, because he was only the third bird watcher I'd met out walking here in 20 years. And he was a postie, it turned out, and he was despairing of the loss of knowledge. He said, well, people aren't looking around them. They come for walks. They're not looking at anything, this sort of thing. And he told me this story because I've been saying that postmen can get a raw deal. I was thinking of my landlord, actually, the way they treated our post lady. But that's another story.
I don't know. They get to walk around on the coldest days in shorts. I mean, what's not to like?
No. He'd asked this lady why her house was called the Beaches. He was curious. He asked her politely, why is it called the Beaches? And she said very rudely, duh. Those trees over there.
Yeah.
And he said, he said, only those are oaks. And I just thought, the bloody woman couldn't tell a beech from an oak.
This is a person who lived in a house called... This is the person who lived in a house called the Beeches, and she didn't realise that the trees on her land weren't beeches, they were oaks.
Yeah, she called it the Beaches. And it occurred to me, Nick, did this person think that beech was just another name for tree? And that there weren't distinct differences? I mean, I believe anything now.
All right, well, on that happy note, Rose, I'm going to have to go, but thanks for that. Yeah. Learn the names of your trees, people. Martin says, let's face it, considering the state of the roads in this country with potholes resembling medium-sized open-cast mines, it's not possible to drive quicker than 20 mile an hour, even if you wanted to. It is pretty difficult driving through London at anything above 20 mile an hour, even at night when the roads are free, supposedly, uninfested with other traffic. You still can't do it, not really. And like I said before, most journeys are 5 miles and less. And so the difference in time that you'll make by arriving at your destination, but doing 20 mile an hour and 30 mile an hour, it won't make no difference at all. I mean, how busy is your life? What vital appointment are you rushing home to do? Watch television? Stop complaining. The only bad thing about driving at 20 mile an hour is every other person on the road who goes berserk just at the very idea, because it's emasculating, presumably. Or it's my right, I can do what I want. You know, those people. Andy says, I'm furious about councils installing bollards on footpaths outside schools. How am I supposed to get my 4x4 close enough to the school gates to collect Tarquin and Jemima to stop them having to walk the 500 yards home? Good point, Andy. And Harry says, Cruella in the States. It's a shame the air traffic control issue happened a month too early. You know, I've looked at the polling. Hey, Fishy, have you seen the polling? Yeah, he has. This is a YouGov and Times voting intention poll. It shows the Conservatives on 24% of the vote. Now, you'll have seen, particularly in the Mail, who seem to be falling over themselves in desperation to try to big up the PM, to try to make it seem possible that the Tories can, win the next election by a major turnaround. Well, that's not the facts, Jack. You will be unsurprised to learn that they are massaging statistics. The latest YouGov Times voting intention poll shows the Tories are down 3 points from last week. 24%. Wow. 24%. Labour are up 2 on 45%. You know, you say what you like about Keir Starmer and his seeming inability to say anything controversial. He's like the he's like the ditto candidate. You know, whatever the Tories said last, ditto. But you say what you like about him, and but you know, he's on 45 and the Tories are on 24. I mean, that's absolutely unheard of. That's incredible. I mean, this is him giving it his 100%.
I am totally 100% on it.
This is him at his best. Down 3 in a week. The Liberal Democrats have 11% of the vote. The Greenies have 7%. The groovy Greenies. Groovy. And the Reform have 8%. But look at who is considering voting Tory, though. We are looking at the end of this party. Guess what percentage of 18 to 24-year-olds are going to vote Conservative at the next election? Have a wild stab in the dark. Go on, I double dare you.
4%.
No, 1%. 1%. It might actually be one person. 1% of those aged 18 to 24 are going to vote Conservative. I think it's probably one of Smug's kids.
My view.
Exactly. Are they old enough? Don't care. 1% of 18 to 24-year-olds are going to vote Tory. 12% of those under 49. It's not just kids. Middle-aged people too. 12% are going to vote Tory. Under 64, it's 27%. The only demographic where more people are going to vote Conservative than Labour are 65 plus. 65 and over. Those are the only people that are going to vote Tory. And what's really bizarre is that the poorer you are, the more likely you are to vote Conservative. The whole thing has gone upside down. And the reverse is true with the Labour Party. ABC ones, the professional managerial class and white-collar workers, 22% are going to vote Conservative. C2DE, blue-collar, and the poor, 27%. And with Labour, it's the other way around. 48% of ABC ones are going to vote Labour, and only 40% of what you would think would be their normal their normal supporters, C2DEs, only 40% are going to vote Labour. It's been completely turned on its head. It's remarkable. And it doesn't matter where you come from. It's all about the same, regardless of where you are in the country, the North, the Midlands, London, or the rest of the South. No one is voting Labour. The only demographic, it doesn't matter male or female, it doesn't matter social grade, not much, it doesn't matter which country you're from, England, Wales and Scotland, or the region of England. The only thing that marks you out as a Tory supporter is being over 65 years old. And of course, unless the Conservatives can turn around the dismal life expectancy that we've got in this country, then those people are going to be falling off life's conveyor belt pretty soon, and they're not going to be replaced by anyone. They are looking at the end of times, the Tory party. So I would expect, having seen that, it does inform why they appear to be strip mining this country for whatever they can while they can get it.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
If only I knew. Stan says, can you replicate your Radio Luxembourg years by speaking really softly and then suddenly really loudly? In reference to the signal coming and going. With a lot of white noise in between. Yeah. No. Pat says, it's so unfair. Hey, Pat.
Stop whining.
People keep having to go at Fishy Seven Bins about his forward-thinking decisions. It's about planning for a better future. Rest assured, he is fully committed to Hope Zero. This is number one priority. I didn't know that. Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah. Couple of quick questions on this one. Are you over the jam yet?
Oh, I'm not entirely sure because I don't sound like I've got volume to my voice. I sound a bit like I'm talking through a sock. To me, to my ears, it's I'm not projecting very well. So I think that maybe some damage has occurred. But you know me, I don't like to complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Second quickie. Next Friday is a 2-hour documentary on the life of David Bowie. Have you seen it? And is it worth watching?
No, which
Next
one?
Friday.
Which one? What's it called?
Sky Arts. It's life story of David Bowie, basically.
Yeah, but what's it called? I mean, I've seen a lot of them. There's been a lot about just lately. There was the film that was put out, which was just a sort of kaleidoscope of clips, which was very, very good.
No, it's about they're interviewing people who were around him at the time and discussions with him and his early life and how he got into.
I have seen it. I think I've seen it, or I have seen at least a couple that are kind of like that. And, it's always good to spend time in the company of David Bowie. So I'd say yes. It's a thumbs up from me.
I'll tape it and listen to you then.
Yeah. All right.
The other one that I found quite irony this week was GB News has been accused of being woke. Back to the presenters. Sam Wootton and the big vicar, Reverend Robinson.
Right. Well, you'll forgive me, but I don't really know anything about that. I've not seen it for one solitary second. The only thing I know about it is the clips that people put up on Twitter, none of which make it look that good.
No, well, what I found funny about it, and the ironic bit is, these are little sharks swimming in the pool. They don't realise that Sir Paul Marshall is trying to buy the Telegraph. And to buy a newspaper in UK, you have to pass the fit and proper test.
Yeah. Are you a fit and proper person? Right.
And if he doesn't throw them under the bus, he's going to snooker his chances of getting the Telegraph.
Well,
and they don't
I mean, a fit and proper person. Rupert Murdoch? I'm not so sure. Or any of the people that own the right-wing press in this country. Fit and proper says who?
And the Russian.
All right, well, I want you to keep your eyes peeled, Mark, and your ears open, and as soon as there are any developments, you let me know straight away. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345. Or was there more? There was something else, right? At least that's what's up on my screen. Something about ballet.
Ballet? No.
It says ballet. Oh, Bowie. Mike, can you talk to me for a minute on the subject of ballet without repetition? No. Deviation or hesitation? No, it's a no from him.
No.
Better luck next time. Thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. Adrian says, excuse me, I am 65 and I am not voting for the clowns. Well, excuse me, but the polling suggests otherwise. Let's have Liverpool. Lou.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Great, mate.
Well, I heard you say earlier about them being at the end, and it just made me think about a couple of years ago, I read Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
Oh, yeah.
you know what? I loved it. I rejoiced in it because I could just see that all of the seething mass of politician that we have in the party, they've painted themselves into a corner, and you just could see that they leached everything out of it, clear up, and then when you leave, shut the door behind you because you're gone.
I don't know very much about it.
The people can rebuild, but you're gone.
Yeah. I don't know very much about Ayn Rand. I saw her speaking once, and she looked insane to me.
She was a nasty piece of work.
Totally nuts. I mean, just,
totally.
I can't believe that anybody would pay any attention to her. But I think the essence of her ideas is the winner takes it all, which is usually proposed by those who have already won.
Indeed, but they're also Monopoly players, and life goes on for a lot longer than a game of Monopoly.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
Well, fair.
I've played ones that seem to go on for an eternity, an epoch.
Somebody threw it across the room in the end, though, didn't they?
Who did?
I don't know. Somebody at the table flicked the board up and it all went.
Right. Well, that's just being a bad loser. All right,
true, but that's what they're doing now. They're also being bad losers, and they're going to turn up anything they possibly can about anybody. And the point is, we have to ignore them. Just plough on anybody but you and out the window. But I totally agree with the need to vote.
Yes, everybody should vote. It should be the law in this country. But they're not going to do that because they're busily engaged in trying to gerrymander the vote by dissuading enough of those who might not vote Conservative to not go and vote at all. It's the Republican playbook. And I'm not making that up because Smug actually said the quiet part out loud.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
He said that the Tories' attempts to gerrymander the vote had, I can't remember what phrase he used, but essentially it was shot themselves in the foot. It had hampered their own success. So there is no confusion, there is no mystery about it. They're actually trying to win the vote by cheating. Well, it worked great for Brexit. That was a vote that was won by cheating, unless you don't think that lying about the potential outcome is cheating. So, we're at the foothills now. Jacob Rees-Moggy said that this is the message from indoors, requiring a photo ID to vote was an attempt to gerrymander, which came back to bite the Tories. Yeah. So how come no one's in jail for that, by the way? Just a thought. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Oh, by the way, I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Yeah.
Talk about kooky. Now, if you want us to have a bash at your issue, because it's a problem-solving podcast, it's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol. If you have a problem you want us to solve, send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com, nickandcarol@global.com, and prepare to be totally satisfied. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol?
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello.
What number are you calling from?
I'm glad you asked. It's 0345 6060 973. Cheryl texts, just need to shout out loud that I'm 67 and I don't want to drive because I have a bus pass. I live within 1 mile of all the vital services I need and the leisure venues I can use if I want to. 15 minutes works for me. None of my friends are revving up to vote for this awful This awful, despicable shower. A shower, Bodge.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, you could use one from the evidence of the video that I've seen you put up on the internet to advertise your column in the Mail. He's beginning to look like Catweasel. He presented himself in a T-shirt.
Disgusting.
Can you imagine? Ugh. Double-breasted suit, please, Bodge. Put it away. Nobody wants to see that. Acacia texts, Nick, you're my favourite host to buy a fur. Buy a fur? I'm sickened to the core about the feeling of the sycamore tree. Who on earth would leaf it like that? Justice is in popular demand. Oh, I see. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's another one of these, the wokerati who likes trees.
Okie dokie.
Liking trees is woke, and therefore bad. I think you'll find that is correct. We must deal with this tree menace. Portsmouth, hello, Dave. Dave?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, Dave.
Well, Nick, can you hear me okay?
Not really.
Oh, well, I'm speaking into an iPhone. I think
that explains it.
I think you're a little bit ageist. Nick.
A little bit ageist. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Only in the sense that I don't like old people.
Yeah, well, I'm 85, so you don't like me.
85 years old. Yes.
Yeah, so you don't like me.
Well,
and
it depends. I'll reserve judgment.
You think that
so
somehow
far,
or
not
another,
much.
people like me are to blame for Brexit, don't you?
Yes,
think that, don't
that's
you?
correct, yes.
Yeah.
Did you vote for Brexit?
I just want to tell you, okay, I know a lot of young people
yes.
Under the age of 25, and I know a lot of old people.
Right.
And neither the young people I know or the old people I know voted for Brexit.
Right.
They hate the Tories.
Yes.
They will vote them out. I would vote them out. I wouldn't vote Tory if I was 105 years old. And nobody I know would either. So the people I know are not the people you know, are they?
Well, it's not that I know them. I'm just looking at the facts, Dave.
What facts?
Facts are that the only people that voted for Brexit and the Conservative Party at the last election are those 65 plus.
Well, where'd you get these facts from?
I just pulled them out of my ear. Where do you think I got the facts from? Polls.
Well, some polls, yes. But the point is, I mean, it's been going on all the time. I mean, I hardly know, in fact, I don't know a single person who voted for Brexit.
Yeah.
Not one single person.
Or would
so
admit
who did
it.
vote for them?
Yeah. I mean, there's an element of people not admitting that they voted for Brexit, and there's an element as well of people not admitting that they're going to vote for the Conservative Party because it's not considered the done thing to say out loud these days. But I bet that in the privacy of that plywood booth, come the day, that significantly more people will vote Conservative than saying that they will now.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. But what I'd like you to do, please, would be just give some people a chance. Don't just keep coming down on them all the time. You know, give us a chance, will you?
I'll take a chance on you.
Okay, yeah. Very quickly, I don't want to interrupt, really. My wife is old, I suppose, 73.
Mm-hmm.
She does this swimming stuff, you know, every morning, winter, summer. 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, blimey.
She's got a whole load of ladies. You know, these people all over the country now, these ladies.
Yeah, not outside, not free swimming, I hope.
They're all over 65.
Yeah, but what kind? Hey, Dave, what kind of swimming is it she does? It's not swimming in rivers or stuff like that, is it?
No, it's Portsmouth Harbour entrance. Within 50 metres of the ferry.
Unfortunately, the phone that you're speaking to us on is not working as advertised, Dave. I should return it to the manufacturer straight away if I were you, because you are breaking up. But don't swim in any rivers, and certainly not off a beach in this country. Are you insane? But I appreciate the update there, Dave. Don't you ever do it again. Tristan says, I hear that it was Jeremy C. who chopped that tree down. First it was Brexit and now this. I bet he is actually the real culprit for global warming. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. You see what you've done? Greg says, I had an encounter with a do-your-own researcher at the petrol station this week during Storm Agnes. This bloke walked out telling the waiting queue, they control the weather. Yeah, I'll sum up that argument for you. Yeah, they are nuts, those people, but there's so many of them. Hang on a minute. Just had to cough. This thing has been going around, I don't know, it's like months now. I haven't been able to sort of project my own voice. Not that I'm complaining over it.
Stop whining.
You know me. Yeah, the thing with conspiracy theories is that they will take one kernel of truth and then grow it into a tree of mendacity. But it just takes one tiny bit, and then by extension, they think that everything else that they say after that, all the nonsense that they have been, inculcated with by doing their own research, that all of it's true just because one tiny fact is true. Like there's a big climate change report by one of these opaquely funded think tanks. God, if they only did think in a tank, we could close the door on them and they could, just amuse themselves from now until the end of time and not bother any of us. But sadly, it's just a term. It doesn't actually mean they're thinking in a tank. Yeah, the climate change report by Civitas. Did you read that? I'll come to that in a while as well. So much to talk about. Let's have, who's been waiting the longest? Sam Batch. Hello, John. John?
Hello?
Yes, John.
I'm not too loud, am I?
No, you're just fine. I can barely hear you.
Okay, then. I agree with the lady that was on about half an hour ago about destroying nature and all that kind of stuff. In the end, we go the same way as they do if we don't look after them.
Yeah, what is incredible to me is that it is now considered woke, as in a bad thing, to take care of your own environment, to take care of your own home, the only home you've got. How insane is that?
Well, insanity rules the world, doesn't it?
Does lately.
And greed and meanness and nastiness. Oh,
it can do. Yeah, it can.
But at the moment, we've got a party in government who does everything like that.
Well, they're trying to appeal to the worst of us. What is heartening is that there aren't that many of us who agree with all of that stuff. I mean, the thing about immigration is indicative. 24% of the people thought that immigration was their number one concern. 24. There's at least 3 things that are more concerning to them above that, but the Tories are just concentrating on that 24%, hoping that they can get all of them to vote Tory.
And they're all over 65.
All over 65 years old. Yeah.
Well, both they are, actually. I mean, I'm 70, and boy, I'm embarrassed to be 70 because there's so many nasty old people walking around.
Yeah.
I feel like setting my dog on them.
Well, let's not get carried away, John. What kind of dog is it?
Springer Spaniel.
Oh, well, they'll just lick them to death.
That's exactly right, but,
okay. All right, thanks a lot, John. Keep on keeping on. 0345 6060 973. Chris says, we have an opposition leader that refuses to undo any of the Tory policies and a Prime Minister who is hell-bent on doing so. On doing what? I never finished my politics A-level, but I'm pretty sure that's the wrong way around. Shall I read that again?
No.
We have an opposition leader that refuses to undo any of the Tory policies and a Prime Minister who is hell-bent on doing so. You mean he's hell-bent on undoing any of the Tory policies? That makes absolutely no sense. What are you talking about, Chris? Don't concentrate on the one message because you've got 11 pages of them to get. 11 pages I've got to read before the end of this show.
Oh, no.
Austin says, I believe Sharia law was a contestant on the X Factor. Plus the felling of that lovely old tree. I believe Special Branch are on the case. Oh, Struth. Another listener with material. And Scott says, you should get... no, I'm not reading any more messages about that ridiculous television station. I'm not. Hugh says, you are very insulting to the over 65s. Thank you. That's not him saying thank you, that's me. He says, you're very insulting to the over 65s. Who do you think you are? We don't just think of immigrants, you ignorant man. Obviously, you want to keep the country being invaded by economic migrants while the young of this country can't get houses and are run by buffoons like you, says Hugh. Hey, Hugh, do us all a favour and skip the next general election. Just give it a pass. We appreciate your cooperation.
Thank you. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Nick. Hi.
Jan.
It's good to hear you. You're sounding better. Your whatever you say about your chest, it sounds a lot better.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I hope it is.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's been such a long time. Been a long time. Been a long, lonely time.
Oh, no. If you've been to the coast, all those, what do they call them, negative ions from the sea are very good for one's health, apparently.
Yes, well, you always feel that way.
Negative ions, but they're very positive.
Yeah, very positive ions, yes.
They're ions in the air. I mean, that's something to...
IRONS. That's correct.
IONS.
IORNES.
Negative ions are very positive.
Irons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I always feel really uplifted when I have been to the coast.
Yeah. Negative ions and fish and chips puts you straight every time.
Nick, I was ringing up to take up a point about what you were speaking earlier about how these 4 billionaires are determining a path for humanity and how the younger generation are sort of kind of already... They're
slaves. Basically, they have enslaved pretty much everybody under the age of 30 in this country who are permanently glued to their phone screens. They cannot stop looking at them.
But it's not only, well, I mean, but there's a point I want to come to, though, but it's not just, I know the young are perhaps really hooked to it, but it's also when I'm out on the street, it's just people's behaviour when you're out on the street, despite all the dangers that are out there, you know, they say it's all more dangerous for people out there, they're still, you know, people are practically walking into you when you walk on the high street. They're more into their phones than looking about themselves.
Yes, they have removed two of the most important senses, the sense of sight. They're not looking where they're going anymore because they're seeing whether they've got any likes from their TikTok video of them dancing that they put up 3 hours ago. And they've taken away their sense of hearing as well because they've got headphones on.
Yeah, so I wanted to come back to that point as well because what I find really the dark side of where these billionaires are taking everyone with, you know, like Musk and everyone, those ones you mentioned, the 4 billionaires, they're actually laying out a path for the future of humanity in a way because it's all embracing. No, it's like the older generation, unless they can get to grips with it, are going to be left out. Well,
I think that would be the best possible place to be, left out, because it does occur to me that people's brains are being controlled, and I know that sounds like an extreme thing to say, but I firmly believe that is true. You people have been turned into slaves, turned into eyeballs, into advert watching machines. That is essentially what they have done to you.
Yeah, so Nick, this is the I want to come to the really dark side of it is that Musk and I don't know if all of them want to do that, but his view of the future. I was reading about it that he wants that he sees it as people, and it's already started in using AI for medical research, which is quite amazing what they can do. But the dark side of it is having brain chips, putting chips in, drilling a person's skull and putting a brain a chip into a person's brain.
Why don't they don't need to do any of that? I mean, I'm not talking. I'm not talking about them taking over your brain and turning you into a robot.
Affirmative.
I'm talking about them taking control of your attention and turning you into a machine that looks at adverts, which is what all those pings and the bongs and when your phone alerts you that you've got a message, or somebody gave you a thumbs up emoji to your lip syncing of Rihanna or whatever it is, they have turned you into a robot. And they've made it, it's not an accident, it is not, they didn't just happen upon it. They have people in white coats working on this stuff, the entire buildings of people trying to make their apps as addictive as possible.
But Nick, on the upside of it all is how AI and all that technology is used for medical advances like that. For instance, one of the breakthroughs was with that Dutch man who was paralysed for 10 years. He had a chip put in his brain.
Right, well, we're talking about two different things entirely.
No, but this is the upside. There's the dark side of this thing by using brain chips for linking people to AI in future. That's what the future will be. It might start off with having ID in people, but also linking people to the AI machine.
I think you're taking a step too far there, Jan. Just concentrate on. Yeah, you are. Just concentrate on what's happening now. It's right in front of your face. Everybody under the age of 30 cannot stop looking at their phones. And it might seem like a silly thing to obsess about, but this is really serious. Your brains are being controlled by a handful, not even 5, fewer than that, a handful of billionaires who are so out of touch with everybody else's experience, they might as well be different species. You are now a slave to them, whether you think you are or not. All of that checking your phone every 2 minutes. I mean, you look at them. The only time that I'm ever around kids is in the gym, and they cannot put their phones away. They'll put it in their pocket, and then they'll take it straight back out again. They can't stop looking at it. It's fizzing their brains with all these the messages coming in, and you're getting a like off this person, and have you seen this update? And it just goes on and on. And they can't stop looking at it, which means that they have become enslaved. They are utterly addicted, as they might as well be to heroin. And it is probably more damaging than that, because at least you can get off at least if you're on heroin, you know you're addicted. But these social apps, there's nothing social about them. They're making everybody loners. I mean, you've seen it as much as I have. People will sit in the pub and every single person around the table will be staring at their phone, communicating with someone who's not there. That was what was so bizarre. I was sitting outside this pub in Brighton, and there was this group of, I assume they were exchange students, or they're just here on a uni or school holiday, whatever. And they were sitting around the table, and none of them had their phones out. And it only occurred to me today how bizarre that is. Not one single one of them even checked their phone. I mean, I presume that Croatian people have mobile phones. So it's a thing that is, I don't know about unique, but it's certainly indicative of the people in this country, young people. You have been turned into slaves. You just don't know it yet. And the really bizarre, the worrying thing is that they haven't even started yet, because when these glasses come in, like I said before, you will be not looking at Google, you will be looking at the world through Google. They will determine what you see, how many messages you get, what their relevance is, what information you get about where you are, and people will be looking at you through their glasses, but they're not looking at you. They're just reading the latest. They will come in as a scroll, and they will never see real life again. I think it's really alarming, and that nobody's doing anything about it is even more worrying. We've just kind of accepted it. Oh, well, that's it. Never mind. People used to experience things. You remember things, don't you? People don't experience things anymore. You go to a concert and they're all staring at the thing that they're in front of through the blooming phone that they're holding up in the air. To do what with? Put it on the internet to get a like from someone they don't know. Oh, my God. It's pathetic. It's really worrying and deeply, deeply pathetic. And it's mostly worrying because your thoughts are being controlled by billionaires, and your interests and theirs do not intersect. They don't care about you. They can't imagine what it is to be you. They have a wall of money around them as high as the moon is far away. And that nobody seems to be remotely concerned or even treading towards doing something about it or reining it in. It's like a virus that's swept over the world and has taken control of our thoughts, literally. And who is even mentioning this? Who's talking about this? No one. We've just given up an entire generation, more than one generation. And what's going to happen to them as they grow older? Because presumably they won't stop staring at their phone. They won't become unaddicted. So within, let's say, 25 years, practically every person on Earth will stare at their phone screen more than they will real life. Doesn't that concern you? God, it does me. Particularly as the people that are going to be controlling what you think, because that is literally what is happening, are some of the weirdest people that have ever lived. Elon Musk, I rest my case. And that man controls the internet. God, he's controlling the war in Ukraine. These people have come out of nowhere, have been some of the weirdest of us, because how do you become one of those people? By not having any friends, by being completely unsociable and unsocialized, and spending all of your youth in a garage tinkering with computer parts. I mean, you don't become one of those people by being fun and gregarious, do you? They're all weird. The thoughts of the human race are now being controlled by a handful of out-of-touch weirdos. And no one's saying a blind word about it. Hell, if they were selling drugs, they'd all be in jail now. But it's worse than that. Still, never mind, eh? 0345 6060 973. And by the way, they are totally in control of the next election, both here and in America. They can do anything they want. The candidate of their choice will become the next president of the United States of America. They can make it happen.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
This is absolute tosh.
0345 6060 973. Bodmin, Malcolm.
Nick, how are you, my friend?
I am great, mate.
Hey, I so wanted you to stop about 30 seconds into your piece on social media, because you went on and you talked about everything I was going to suggest. But I rang in to speak about ULEZ and Uxbridge and Ritchie and two headlines tomorrow. But on media, Nick, it's not social media, it's anti-social media.
Yeah.
And if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would think that it's all planned and designed, and it's all about keeping young people and not so young people from talking to each other other than in the written form and in a form that I could closely monitor and I could influence, because I can feed them with my algorithms all sorts of stuff along the kind of route.
You can control people's minds. Literally controlling people's minds. That's what's happening.
and young people, they're not talking to each other about the normal things you and I.
They're not talking to each other about anything. They're typing to each other.
Well, they are, but they're talking to each other about things, on the whole, which are completely detached from their own lives and virtually meaningless on the whole. And my daughter is into all this, and my daughter is a psychologist, but she knows her limits, and for her, because her life, her peers, they've moved apart physically, geographically, obviously, as they've aged. They moved with work and so on, but she stays in touch by a medium that, it keeps her from her friends,
right.
because if social media didn't exist, they'd have to meet up to talk to each other and remain friends.
Yes, or call each other on the phone and actually speak using their mouths, not their thumbs.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, look, enough on that. The ULEZ thing, I want, Nick, it's early hours, I know, but I want to speak about numbers again. I always talk to you about numbers, and I know you know about numbers, and I despair for the people who doubt your mastery of numbers, i.e. calculating Fahrenheit from centigrade and so on. Because
are you talking about? I know numbers.
Well, you're a psychologist, and my daughter's a psychologist, as I mentioned before.
Well,
and
I'm not. I studied psychology, but I don't know anything about it.
Right, but you, and this will ring about you, because you may have hated this element of psychology, but a big part of psychology, I know through my daughter, is statistics.
Statistics.
Boring.
Couldn't stand it.
No, but it's a big part of the course, isn't it?
Yeah. Too big.
Because
I hated it. In my first year at uni, we had the only exam we had was statistics, and I got a D. How bad is that? And we could take our textbooks and calculators into the exam, and I still got a D.
Well, my daughter, she liked maths, and she was good at maths, so the stats part of it, she loved it. But it's important in doing studies, isn't it? On your subject. But look, the ULEZ thing. That Rishi Sunak takes a huge amount of comfort from the ULEZ thing, and he puts it down to the motorists and ULEZ. Now, all of the Tories did in that election was to save themselves from losing only all but 400 and odd votes, right? So
but they won by the narrowest of margins. Yeah,
but the polemic, Nick, is if ULEZ saved them that constituency, and it was a victory because of ULEZ, they lost 6,500 votes of Boris Johnson's majority, and they held on to 500 of his majority. It was an unmitigated disaster.
But then everything else is. I mean, think of what else they can possibly recommend themselves to the general public. I mean, law and order. No, of course not. The state of the NHS. Forget it. Their handling of the economy. Come on. So none of the things that they would normally go to the public and say that this is us, they can do, because we know that none of that's true. So this is what they're like drowning men who are grasping hold of a flotation device which has got ULEZ written on it.
But the point I make, Nick, is this, right? If Rishi Sunak would have done what he said in his Downing Street speech on day one and gone with integrity and honesty and truthfulness and all that nonsense, if he'd have gone with that and reeled against everything that Boris Johnson stood for, which was the opposite of those things, he would have probably held on to the votes that Labour gained from his party. In other words, if he'd have been truthful about ULEZ and the damage happening to people in London because of the air they breathe, and if he just stuck to honest here, if he just stuck to Johnson's green issues,
Right.
He'd have held on easily to Uxbridge because that's what the majority of people in Uxbridge wanted. 7,000 of them, 6,500 of them moved over to Labour. Only 500 of them stayed.
Yeah. But it's the unexpectedness of that win that has sort of revivified them. They thought, oh, well, if we can win there, then we can win anywhere. But it would have been more incredible for them to have lost there than to have just squeaked a win.
Well, look, there's a pair of headlines tomorrow in the newspaper. Mark Harper, the Transport Secretary, says as the headline, we're on the side of motorists. Right. Then there's another headline tomorrow in another paper where Richie Sunak says, I'm with motorists.
Yes.
Now, the massive issue here is that Mark Harper is in charge of the railways, and he's the person handling the railway strikes. And he's saying, I'm on the side of the driver. In other words, I'm for roads, not railways.
Yeah.
And he's in charge of these railway strikes.
Yes.
It's at the madness, Nick.
I think you're looking for meaning, Malcolm. There is no meaning here. These are just desperate people who are trying to scrabble a win at any cost. They will say anything at this point to turn those poll ratings around.
What I'm trying to say, Nick, is that this group of Tories are so stupid that they can't even see that they're doing the opposite of what would win them votes.
Right. Yeah, they're trying to appeal to the over 65 because that's the only demographic that is even suggesting that they will vote Tory. But the over 65s don't tend to drive cars as much as they sit on buses. So to have cars drive in bus lanes as a way to recommend your party to the public is pretty dumb. If the people on the bus are being held up, and those are the only ones that are going to vote for you.
But the problem is, Nick, there's nowhere near enough of them to win an election. If all they're looking for is the 10% of the population who are over 60, that is not going to win them an election. And the people who are into the green issues and want green green solutions to problems, then they're barking up the wrong tree because they're losing all of those people, aren't they, with this?
It also makes no sense because the moment you get out of your car, you become a pedestrian, which is the people that this government seems to have declared war on. Malcolm, I've got to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Beverly says, I have a complaint. Oh, no. What have I done now? I am 70 years old, says Beverly, and I'm an ardent rejoiner. I can also confirm that immigration is not one of my priorities, only in the fact that I would rather have a Syrian or Afghani family or almost any other foreign person living next door to me than the likes of Smug or Farage.
My view?
Yeah. We are not all rabid racists or anti-European, says Beverly. But she would say that, wouldn't she? Claire says, stop having a go at the over 65s. We know what we're doing. What was the question again? 11:20, says Claire. 0345 6060 973. Newcastle, hello, Barry.
How are you doing?
All right, thanks.
Yeah, fascinating, absolutely unbelievable. Just coming up to my 72nd birthday, never rung one of your shows before, never rung any radio show before, and I'll not say I'm nervous, like people come on and say that when they talk to James O'Brien, they say, you'll have to bear with me, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly nervous, but there you go.
I'd be having an accident personally if I was speaking to James O'Brien, so I understand what they're saying.
I just wondered if you'd mentioned anything about the Bamford thing. Have you been following that?
He's adopted Boris Johnson as a pet?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you follow this thing about the HMRC investigation that's going on into his kind of...
I'm going to pause you right there because I don't have any idea what you're talking about. This is news to me. One moment, please. Okay, HMRC investigating tax affairs of one of the Tory party's largest donors. Inquiry into tax affairs of JCB boss Anthony Bamford calls into question whether the Tories should accept funds from the peer.
Boris Johnson was living in as a Prime Minister, do you remember? Well, just before he was a Prime Minister.
Yeah. Like I said, it appeared for a while there as though the Bamfords had adopted Boris Johnson as a pet.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. It's absolutely mind-blowing. The reason why I rang in, actually, I heard you say before, been a long time since you rock and rolled.
Yes.
And I remembered, I thought to myself, right, okay, you're knocking on a bit, but I still remember the City Hall, Led Zeppelin, 1972.
Really?
Unbelievable.
Wow. Well, that was just after they released Physical Graffiti, or just before?
Yeah. It was just before. I think then Houses of the Holy and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I was sitting there, wild. It was a wild night.
You were sitting there?
Well, sitting there watching Robert Plant do his thing, but there you go.
Could even Led Zeppelin not get you on your feet, Barry?
Oh, I was absolutely on my feet.
Right, okay.
I was probably on my arse, actually, but that's, through being in the pub next door.
You were
but there you
floating, is what you were. 3 feet above the ground.
Listen, people have said to me, listen to Nick Abbott, listen to James O'Brien. I've never done that. I've done it in the last 2 years, right? Family members have been saying for 10 years. They've bought the books, done the James O'Brien thing, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And believe me, your show is magic.
Well, it's like
unbelievable. You should be on every night.
Like
you wouldn't
prestidigitation. All right, thanks a lot, Barry. Cheers. 0345 6060 973. An unsolicited testimonial.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Harry says, as a 21-year-old, it's depressing. We have a choice until we have to submit 300 applications to get 3 interviews. We're a generation that must always be contactable. 2-factor and other authentication processes mean that going home to log on and check the emails just doesn't work anymore. I remember when my older siblings first discovered Siri. We have moved so far so soon. I don't think it'd be fair to argue that we choose to as we largely have to. Wow, some of that seemed like it was written by a robot.
Affirmative.
That's not familiar with English. What are you talking about? I mean, I understood some of it, but not all of it. Shall I read it again?
No.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Andy says, I took the dog out for a walk near Esher and came across a charity 10-mile walk. About 100 teens were walking through the beautiful countryside, but they missed all of it because they were on their phones. What made it worse was the music that they were playing on their phones for all to hear. Ruined my walk, says Andy. I was in Regent's Park the other day. They got a sculpture exhibition in Regent's Park. They have it every year as part of the Frieze Art Fair, and it's not really worth a trip this year. It's been better previous years. But what is actually worth going there for is to read the descriptions that somebody has written about the artist and what they mean by their sculpture. Some of the most laugh-out-loud funny art nonsense I've ever read in my life. I mean, it's just hysterical. Whoever wrote that stuff is it's either a lunatic or a genius. It's either very, very funny or it's utterly ridiculous. And I'm going with the latter because I don't think anybody could have seriously made up that stuff as a joke. But I was... any good examples, says the bloke next door. No, I should have taken... I took a couple of pictures of some of the sculptures. What I should have done is taken a picture of some of the explanations because, I mean, honestly... If you go around galleries and you look at... No, he just dumped me. I've just been dumped on my own show. What? Art nonsense then, or I'll put it like that. Art nonsense. You see some art nonsense on gallery walls. Not written by the artists themselves. It would be written by the curator. And, I've seen some priceless stuff, but nothing I think I've ever read comes close to this. It's worth going to Regent's Park. Don't necessarily think that there's a great sculpture show. A couple of the pieces are really good, but, don't make a big trip to see them. But the explanations that have been written by the curator are just hysterical. I mean, I should have taken pictures of them, and I came away thinking that, and I thought, shall I go back? And I couldn't be bothered. But walking through Regent's Park, they have a formal gardens part, which is just stunning. And as I was there, a troop of school kids in their sort of late teens, they walked through. Every single one of them was gawping at their phones. There must have been about 30 of them. There wasn't a single one that was actually connected to the reality that they were walking through. What they were walking through was some of the most beautiful displays of nature on Earth. There can't be many that could be improved, that could improve on that. And they didn't see a single petal of it. Not any of it did they see, because they were gawping at their phones, wondering if they got a thumbs up emoji to the TikTok dance they put on that day. I mean, seriously. Children's minds have been taken over by billionaires who do not have their interests at heart. Can you imagine anything else that I mean, any other product that had been introduced to children that is so addictive, that is actually controlling their minds? Think of anything else. We would send the army in to take out the people responsible, wouldn't we? But this is, oh, well, you know, never mind. It's just a bit of amusement for them. It'll keep them shut up for a while. This is not going to end well. I mean, never mind about ending well. It's not well now. I cannot believe that nobody's talking about this. I mean, just like half-heartedly every now and again, complaining that kids, they never look up as they're walking to the road. I saw somebody just tonight driving on a bike without lights, wearing black clothes, the wrong way down a road, staring at their phone. I mean, is that not Darwinism in it, or if they got run over, would that not be Darwinism in action? I just despair. It's terrifying, is what it is. And that we're allowing this to happen. These people are actually changing the course of wars, and we're just shrugging our shoulders and going, oh well, never mind. 0345 6060 973. Bexley Heath. Hello, Peter.
Hello, mate.
Peter.
I'm just listening to this, and I'm down here fuming. I just can't believe. I believe I shouldn't be on this planet, and I'm speaking of all those young lads on the D-Day beaches. Under orders, they knew they were going to die. As soon as those ramps went down, they were dead. And I'm listening now. When we came out of the forces, we put the Labour Party in. We had a beautiful Prime Minister.
Which
Attlee,
one?
Attlee.
Right. Beautiful.
But I'm afraid they didn't last. Well, they lasted 5 years, and we soon had Churchill back. And now
this is like a history lesson, Peter. Is there a point?
Yeah, there is a point. we now seem to be being run by bloody idiots, baby boomers, I call them. They've been born into a welfare state, and I'm guilty because I voted Labour. I used to be rank Labour.
So the problem in the world is the welfare state. Is that your issue?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Message you received and not understood. Thanks a lot, Peter. Very, very angry. Is angry about the welfare state of which he is a beneficiary. Pevensey Bay, Andy.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm actually overjoyed. I don't listen to your show very often. I've just come in tonight and I heard you talking about social media. I'm actually overjoyed that somebody is talking the way that loads of people should believe and should be more publicised, because exactly what you say.
We are in big trouble in this, not just in this country, but on Earth. We are in big trouble because our thoughts are, it might sound hyperbolic, but our thoughts and the thoughts of the children are being controlled by billionaires whose interests do not coincide with our own.
Yes, because, and also it's like, you get, social media, I do Facebook every so often. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but I do Facebook every so often. I go in there, I use it for the way it's supposed to be constructed, or I thought it was constructed to be used, which is like contacting people. I don't see it very often. There's nobody on Facebook I've never met. So people I know in Australia, I've got friends in Ireland and contacts, so I use it for that reason. But it's been abused, it's been hacked. I've had it hacked by some really unpleasant people.
Right, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that actually run these sites. It's not by accident. They tweak it every single day to make it more addictive. That's their policy. Andy, I'm going to have to go, but please keep your Facebook, I can't finish that sentence. That's great. The last sentence I'm going to utter in this show is one that I cannot finish. Oh, well, never mind. I failed this test. 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 I failed.